If you've ever worked for a boss who forced you to turn over your tips, he was probably breaking the law, and that's led to successful lawsuits on behalf of those employees. Our legal eagle, Jim Higgins, with the Higgins Firm, joins us to talk about that. So a lot of people work for tips, and a lot of bosses say, okay, throw them in the jar or we're going to share these.
Yes, and some of that can be okay and some of it is not okay. And you know, if you look over the past few years, there's more attention to it now because Mario Batali had a huge settlement, like $5 million. He was doing it in all of his restaurants that was supposed to be legal. Domino's just had settled one last month for a couple of million. And what it is these people that work for tips, they get $2.13 an hour and they depend on that tip.
Exactly, that's part of their income.
It is, you know, and it's hard work to put up with like somebody with like my kids running around or whatever, right?
Sure.
And so those are their tips under the law. And if the employer keeps some of those for himself, then he's breaking the law.
Okay.
And they're going to have to pay all those back to the employee. Now, there are certain tip shares that we see that people
are okay?
that are okay. And what it basically is, it says, hey, you can share your tips with other people who generally make tips or help you, like, you know, maybe the bartender or the hostess.
Or the busboy.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But not, you know, the chef or the management or the owner. I mean, he can't use your tips to run his business. That's right.
So what does somebody do?
Well, you know, it's really hard. Sometimes we get calls from people when they think they're not getting the overtime or their tips are shares being violated, and they're stuck in that place where they don't want to get fired. And even though the law protects you from being fired, people are nervous.
Of course.
So, you know, I always tell folks they're welcome to call our office. We can tell them what their rights are, because I think that's a lot of it, knowing where they stand. And I know we've talked to people who have taken that information to their employer and just said, hey, let's do this right, and it's worked out without our intervention.
Right.
And other times, if, you know, sometimes people get fed up and you know, we're kind of that last resort.
Could become a class action thing, or at least an individual may not be by themselves.
Usually, in most of our cases where it's an overtime case against a big restaurant chain or something like that, it does become a class action.
You know, Erin and I were talking, and she was saying, you know, you work hard, you want your tip, somebody else is being lazy, you don't want to share with them. That's the way the system works.
It's tough, right?
Yeah. All right, Jim Higgins of the Higgins Firm. Give him a call if you have a question on this, or email him right there, Jim@higginsfirm.com. Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you, man.